From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents The Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
Good evening, everyone. This is the Open Mic Show on 97.9 FM WHAV. I'm your host, Tim Coco. You can also watch the Open Mic Show on WHAV's Facebook page and online at WHAV.tv on your computer or smartphone. And, of course, many of you are already listening on your smartphones through either the TuneIn app or just clicking on the headphones anywhere you see them at WHAV.net. All right. Now, coming up on the program tonight, we're very, very excited, very, very pleased to have Joan Hatem-Roy on the program. She is the new head of Elder Services of the Merrimack Valley. Now, everyone is familiar with Elder Services of the Merrimack Valley, and if by chance you're not, you're going to learn a lot about it tonight on the program. Coming up after the news at about 7:05 or so, we're going to meet Joan Roy and talk about Elder Services and the new role she stepped in following the retirement of Rosanne DiStefano. So I think you're going to enjoy this. I know that we have many people in the WHAV audience who rely on Elder Services. Those of you who aren't quite sure about those services, you're going to learn about those tonight. Now, we have some routine matters we usually deal with at the beginning of the program. This being July. Wait a minute now. Is next Monday the last Monday of the month, Chris? All right, so you have a week, but don't wait till the last minute. Nominate someone to win a free birthday cake, or nominate a couple to win a free anniversary cake from Albee Second Generation Italian Bakery, 140 South Main Street in Bradford. Very easy to do. Just call the Open Mic Show, 978-374-1900, and you wish someone a happy birthday or a couple a happy anniversary. Chris will have taken down that information, put their names into the hat, and they will possibly win the free 7-inch cake, choice of vanilla or chocolate from Albee. Now, we also still have, I wonder if our judges would call us from Kimball Tavern Antiques, corner of Salem and South Main Streets. We are kind of deadlocked, I think, on solving this trivia question. You could win a $10 gift certificate, same as cash, to Kimball Tavern Antiques. If you can answer the question, name the man on Lowell Avenue who collected hubcaps, his first name, his last name, and his nickname. Now, thanks to our judges and listeners, 2/3 of that question have already been answered, and we even have an additional hint. We know his first name was Charlie. We know his nickname was Kista. So all you really have to do is answer his last name, which begins with an A. Okay, how much easier can we make this for you? So this is a great way to win a gift certificate worth $10 to Kimball Tavern Antiques. So that's the lineup. You can win a free birthday or anniversary cake from Albee Second Generation Italian Bakery right here on the Open Mic. You can also win a $10 gift certificate to Kimball Tavern Antiques. Again, we're on 97.9 FM, WHAV, streaming online at WHAV.net and all of your favorite apps. Okay, we have quite a bit going on in the news. Perhaps you want to chime in on some of this during our open lines time, which is right now. Well, we have 2 candidates so far for state representative to fill the seat being vacated by Representative Brian Dempsey, chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee. Now, unlike other states, budgets begin here in the House, and it makes Brian's position very, very valuable to the city of Haverhill. But he is leaving that position. He's going to join ML Strategies of Boston as Chief Operating Officer. Now, we have two candidates so far, both Democrats. Paul Magliacchetti was the first to announce, and City Councilor Andy Vargas was the first to take out nomination papers because they just happened to be being delivered when he was at the Haverhill City Clerk's office late last week. So there's been talk, perhaps school committee members Sean Toohey or Scott Wood might run. A person who says he's not running is Tom Sullivan, city councilor. And what made Tom Sullivan's announcement so interesting is he said he's not running because he would like to run for mayor someday. Not this year. We don't know whether he will wait for Haverhill Mayor Fiorentini to retire. He's not really telling us too much about those plans, but you wouldn't really expect that he would. It's too far out. So the political world has been pretty much upset. So why don't you call 978-374-1900? As WHAV reported when this story first broke, and it broke on WHAV, that Brian Dempsey was resigning from the House, we had a summary of some of the accomplishments of Brian, and among those is he delivers almost every year about $2.4 million to the city of Haverhill to help pay for the debt of the Hale Hospital, which closed under duress, end of 2000, was sold. Pretty low money. The city still has to pay for the construction of the hospital. It was brand new. It only opened in 1984. Pay for retirements and other pension-related costs. And that cost actually continues to grow because a lot of people were not eligible for retirement when the hospital closed, but they are becoming eligible. And more are coming in to file their retirement papers. So that is an interesting situation. Will our legislative delegation be able to deliver on the $2.4 million going forward? Some say yes. The governor recognizes that this was a regional hospital, that many of the people who went to the Hale Hospital were not just from Haverhill, so it shouldn't be entirely Haverhill's obligation. Many people got free care at the Hale Hospital, as most hospitals end up doing, whether willingly or not. So does that help? Is the rest of our legislative delegation strong enough? No, a couple of them have been around for a while, like Linda Dean Campbell, representing kind of that, let's see, northwestern side of Haverhill. And we have Representative Diana DeZoglio in Bradford area. Lenny Mira out, Riverside area, just a little piece of Haverhill. And, of course, Senator Kathleen O'Connor Ives. Well, we certainly have a lot of representatives. Haverhill's becoming a big place. So maybe that is maybe everything will be fine. Haverhill received more than $20 million for Harbor Place-related expenses, more than $9 million for the new boardwalk and some related infrastructure. You know, that's big words for the boardwalk, but there seems to be some tie-ins for a new parking garage for Sal Lapoli for his 10-story building downtown. Well, judging by the governor's line item vetoes last week, it seems, okay, he did a lot of vetoes last year, too, and the legislature overrode them. He still managed to cut them with his emergency powers. But the cuts this year seem to be broader and deeper. The vetoes seem to be broader and deeper than they have been. Does this mean the luster of being the chairman of Ways and Means wears off that fast? I hope not. Brian, if you're listening, would love to hear your perspective. 978-374-1900. 1900. Let's take our first birthday call. You are on the open mic.
Hello?
Yeah, you're on the open mic.
Oh, hi. Good evening. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Oh, you have a birthday wish for someone?
Yes, for my daughter, Barbara.
All right, your daughter Barbara, when is her birthday?
August 27th.
August 27th. Okay, so she is in the birthday cake contest.
Thank you so much.
Eligible to win a gift certificate to LBD's Second Generation Italian Bakery, 140 South Main Street in Bradford. Anything special about your daughter you want us to know?
She's a great person.
All right. Well, I'm happy to hear that. And thank you very much for your call. Really appreciate that. She is now in the contest.
Thank you so much, and you have a beautiful evening.
Well, you too. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Take care. All right. So now phones are ringing. Chris, you're getting that call, and we'll see what else we have on the list. Okay, so we have a birthday entrant for this month. You can also enter 978-374-1900. Chris, the man with 5 radio jobs, most of them unpaid, is our producer and master control tonight, and he'll take your call. Get the information so you don't have to give too much on the air. We make it really easy for you. All right, speaking of one of Brian Dempsey's accomplishments, and he's never boasted about any of this. Brian tended to work rather quietly but quite effectively behind the scenes, and one of the things is the new 2-story campus of UMass Lowell at Harbor Place. So it is in the new commercial building at White's Corner, and the former chancellor, Marty Meehan, who's now the head of University of Massachusetts in general, but it didn't seem very clear what those floors would be used for. But we now know that we have. Some of you got this in the mail. We now know that there's going to be criminal justice programs, lots of police innovations, criminal justice, statistics in criminal justice, victimology. I don't know that I knew that word, victimology. And then there's some marketing-related things, financial management, global marketing, managerial decision-making, operations management. I guess business-related would be better. Kind of an odd one that jumps out is statistics, but maybe you need that in both criminal justice and in business. So UMass apparently has made remarkable progress in getting those floors ready at Harbor Place. Fall courses start September 6th. Well, Brian Dempsey's fingerprints are all over this, pardon the term, and he played a very big role in getting this here, but rather modestly doesn't talk too much about it. So what will we do without Brian Dempsey? Give us a call, 978-374-1900. Let's take another call. You are on the Open Mic Show.
Thank you.
All righty. I guess it must be Brian.
It certainly is.
All right.
And I'm not Brian Dempsey, just so that listeners know.
Oh, I guess that's a good point. I guess they might not necessarily know your voice or his.
Pretty much one of the regular callers.
Yeah, you're not as gravelly voiced as he is.
No. Right. And I've never tried to imitate him.
Right. Well, here's your chance. Oh, no. All right. So what's on your mind, Brian?
Well, when we're talking about one of the new buildings downtown, and you know my feelings about that, but as I understand it, one of those buildings is all wood frame.
Yes.
And, I thought of that building, was it last week when that building in Dorchester went up?
Yeah, it's funny. I ran into some similar postings. I'm not sure what you're referring to, but I have a sense of it. There
was one in Waltham, just the other day or something. And according to the construction people, they say that, when it's under construction, that's when it's most vulnerable. And once it's complete, because of sprinkler systems and this and that, that are required, it's not so hazardous. But I'm wondering. I'm concerned. I don't know.
Well, so are you talking about an existing brand new wood frame building, or you're talking about a future project?
It's well, as far as I know, it's pretty much built. Down by where Newman's was.
Now that's completely occupied, I guess. And yes, I like many others, noticed when it was going up that it was not the same type of a steel structure as the commercial building was. The first floor was framed in steel. Much of the remaining floors were wood covered. And now I would imagine with modern sprinkler systems and high pressure systems, obviously it got building permits and the state signed off on it. So, but I think I know where you're going, if that's where you're going.
Yeah, well, the state signs off on a lot of things, but they're not necessarily.
And you're a former government official too, aren't you?
So to speak. Yeah.
So you would know.
I used to just say I was laid off. Now I just say retired.
Oh, okay. Well, I understand your concern. I would say, though, I find myself sometimes quoting people from the past. And former Fire Chief Lewis C. Burton, once said, "No one has ever died in a sprinklered building." I suppose something might have changed in 30 years, but I think the principle is correct, that at least theoretically, the sprinkler systems, modern systems, will keep much under control. But now it's an interesting point. We actually know people, there are WHAV volunteers even, who are living in the residences at Harbor Place. So let's hope for the best. But I understand what you're saying. I think a number of us were surprised to see the wood-clad siding before the bricks went on.
Yeah.
So, and I know the fire department did do drills there, and the fire department's actually, I have to give them a lot of credit because they're always training, they're always looking at possibilities.
Yeah, they're proactive, and
because they just did, as WHAV reported, they just did some proactive tours of Covanta. Covanta's been there now, more than 20 years. I think it's closer to 30. I think it is 30, now that I think about it. We've had a lot of newcomers and retirees in that time, so every firefighter just went through, in shifts, went through Covanta to see what's there, where the hazards are in the case of the unthinkable. And they're even talking about, and I talked to the fire chief about this last Thursday when they were giving out some arson rewards, separate thing.
Arson awards?
For turning in arsonists. I don't know if you saw that, heard that story on WHAV. It was heard first on WHAV, but a 15-year-old Whittier Votech student provided information that led to the arrest and conviction of
the Stevens building.
Yes, the Stevens building, and on Stevens Street, the former Hudson Machinery Company, and of course the other gentleman, Mr. King, I believe, took pictures, happened to catch those same people in photographs, and so they both received rewards from the Arson Watch program. But at that same meeting, I talked to the chief, and he was talking about those forthcoming. There'll be drills at Covanta. So
that's a good idea.
So good stuff. But anyway,
that Stevens building, is that the one? I used to see a sign that said Braley and Walker, just as it would make the turn onto Winter Street. That
does sound familiar. I mean, I used to see all kinds of things. There used to be, a dyeing company there, right? I don't mean it the way it sounds. People who dye shoes. I believe my mother, and I don't know if this is still something that people do, but my mother had shoes dyed to match a dress for a wedding. And maybe it was a Little River. I think a lot of things have been there over the years, at least in the front building.
Well, I just remember that sign there just as you made the turn to go up Winter Street. That Braley and Walker. It was that. It wasn't Murdstone and Grinby's.
Oh, okay. I'll have to look this up and see what I can find out. Although, who knows, our open mic show historian, he just dreads when I call him out like that. Maybe David Gouch would know something about Braley and Walker.
Yeah, I'll bet he does. And he's good at finding out the stuff, too. So.
All right. Well, it looks like I have another birthday call and a break to take. Anything else on your mind?
Oh, no.
Always
Nothing crosses
appreciate
my mind.
Always appreciate your participation in the program. Thank you so much, Brian.
I enjoy calling. And you take care. Talk to you soon.
All right, thank you so much. All right, caller who's on the line, would you just mind waiting just a second? We're going to take a brief break, and we'll be back with more of the Open Mic Show on 97.9 FM WHAV.
Open Mic!
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
97.9 FM WHAV.
Catch the wave!
Hi, Tom Bergeron here. I started at WHAV in 1972. And look, WHAV's still here, but it won't be if you don't help support it. Go to WHAV.net. Become a contributor. Keep us going.
Catch the wave! WHAV! Open Mic!
From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
7 minutes before news on WHAV 97.9 FM. I'm Tim Coco, your host for the Open Mic Show. All right. We have another caller? Okay, let's go right to the caller. We're running short on time. You are on the Open Mic. Okay, you're on the Open Mic. Can you hear me, caller?
Yes, I can.
Oh, okay, great. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you.
What's up?
Yeah. I got a boyfriend. His birthday is August 31.
Oh, okay, right on the day that, right at the end of the month. Okay. August 31st. What's his name?
Michael Blen.
Okay, Michael. All right. So happy birthday, Michael. Does Michael know you're calling in his birthday?
No.
Is he listening? Is he going to be surprised? That's a nice way to do that. Call in the show and surprise somebody.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so Michael's name has been added to the drawing to win a free 7-inch cake, choice of vanilla or chocolate, from Albidi, second-generation Italian bakery, 140 South Main Street in Bradford.
Good.
Well, thank you so much for your call.
And I do have another one that I put in.
Okay, great. Let's hear that.
And it's Ann Racer, my mother.
All right, your mother. I know. I think you've nominated her before. Now that I think about it.
Yeah.
All right. So, and when is your mother's birthday?
August 25th.
August 25th. Big month in your family, right?
Yeah.
All right, Chris. You've got both of those birthdays. Both of them.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, thank you very much for your call, and good luck to both of them.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Take care.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Well, let's just squeeze in another one. You are on the Open Mic Show.
Good evening, Tim. How are you?
Very good. It's Jerry, our environmental consultant from Methuen.
Yeah, I'm a political consultant tonight.
Oh, are you? Okay. Well, you got a couple minutes.
Well, actually,
You have a birthday first?
How important it is, how the loss of Mr. Dempsey is. I know from experience when I used to I used to go up before Ways and Means, the Committee on Budget, to talk about, the Division of Water Supply budget and, why we needed personnel, why we needed this, why we needed that. And man, you better really know, you better have your ducks in order, I'll tell you, because Ways and Means and the chairman of the committee, he and his colleagues control the entire, they control the entire state of Massachusetts, really.
No,
the governor can do this and the governor can do that, but if Ways and Means isn't singing off the same page, then you know what happens.
No, you're absolutely right. And you know what's funny? I saw an observation. I don't remember where I read it, but our legislature tends to be more conservative than the voters. And now I know Massachusetts is an odd place anyway in this regard, but the legislators just kind of altered what the voters chose to do with the marijuana law.
Yeah.
And and the governor. Republicans in Massachusetts are different than Republicans elsewhere. So he's a social liberal, kind of a fiscal conservative, but yes, you're absolutely right. The dynamics are very funny. You don't know what will happen. And I can tell the power has already shifted because I actually called Ways and Means, and it's already in the new guy's hands. So very.
The other thing, Tim, is when a legislator calls a state agency, or even his administrative assistant calls a state agency, that particular item that he is interested in goes right to the top of the inbox, even if it was on the bottom. And things happen, and that was demonstrated by Mr. Dempsey. I would have loved to have been up there before him. He really has a sharp mind, and he's really done an awful lot for Haverhill, but I'm sure he's done a lot for other communities too. So it'll be a tremendous loss. It really will be a tremendous loss because it takes time to become chairman of the Ways and Means.
No, I mean it took him 20 years. So it takes it takes a while to move up.
Anybody that takes his place has got a long journey. Has a long journey, I'll tell you. That's all I want to say tonight.
Did you have a birthday wish for someone too?
Yes, my son Jerry Jr. Same name, same middle name.
And you got that?
Only he has a Roman number 2 at the end of his name.
Oh, okay, very classy. A Roman number 2. Okay, so all right. So when is his birthday?
July the 3rd.
July the 3rd. This is the most popular week we've had this month for taking birthday entries. So thank you very much, July. Oh, he was July.
And thank you for.
We'll work that in.
It's a wonderful topic tonight, and I mean, there's an awful lot. Mr. Dempsey, Chairman Dempsey, has really done an awful lot for Haverhill, and I'm sure he's done a lot for other things that he's done that I'm published in the newspaper either.
No, I actually think he's one of the ones who works rather quietly behind the scenes. I do not think of him as a headlines grabber. He certainly could have more times than he hasn't.
And he's Irish besides, Tim.
All right, so if you were in Haverhill, you'd be a big voter, right?
Oh, I would.
Oh. All right, Jerry.
I'd have a big sign in my on my front lawn for Dempsey, I'll tell you.
All right. So we're out of time for this hour, but really thank you for the call. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having such a great subject tonight.
Oh, well, thank you.
I knew you were going to do it, though.
All right. Well, thank you
I've got you figured out pretty good.
Oh, I guess you do. Well, thanks for the vote of confidence. All right. Have a good night, Jerry.
Yes,
thank
you very much.
Thanks so much. All right, so at 7:01 here on the Open Mic Show, 97.9 FM WHAV, we're going to go to local news, local weather. We'll be back with Joan Roy of Elder Services of the Merrimack Valley on the Open Mic Show.
Open mic.
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
It's 7:02.
WHAV LP Haverhill.
Here's what's happening in local news. Children playing with a lighter has been deemed the cause of a house fire Sunday afternoon on Orange Street in Haverhill. The fire, limited to one room of the two-family home at 54 Orange Street, caused approximately $30,000 in mostly water and smoke damage, said Haverhill Fire Chief William LaLiberty. Because of the quick action of the fire department, damage is minimum, the chief said. There has to be some repairs made before it can be reoccupied. The fire department received the call just before 3 o'clock Sunday afternoon. According to city records, the home is owned by Elizabeth and Robert Littlehall. Haverhill police officers will get less than half of a 3-year, 12% raise they sought in arbitration with the city. A 3-member joint labor management committee ruled members of the police officers union should receive retroactive salaries of 1.5% for 2015 and 2016 and 2.5% raise for fiscal year 2017, which just ended on June 30th. City Council will be asked to approve the arbitration agreement and transfer more than $630,000 from salary reserves to pay the officers. Mayor James Fiorentini, in a letter to the council, recommended approval. The council meets at 7 p.m. Tuesday in the Theodore Pelosi Jr. City Council chambers on the second floor of Haverhill City Hall. The police union had sought increases of 4%, 5%, and 3% respectively for fiscal years 2015 through 2017. The city had offered 1.5% raises for the first 2 years and 1.75% for the final year. The arbitrators mostly sided with the city, bumping the final year's salary increase 2.5% with a 0.75% adjustment to bring Haverhill's police salaries closer to comparable cities. The arbitration agreement is also notable for the panel's decision to make Haverhill one of the few communities in the Commonwealth to allow civilians to perform traffic details when there are no uniformed officers available, the mayor said. The agreement also increases the private detail rate to $46 from $44, institutes drug and alcohol testing for officers, consistent with the policy followed by the Superior Officers Bargaining Unit, and rejects the police union request for a 5% weekend differential. Members of the panel were Leominster Mayor Dean Mazzarella, representing management, Alan Andrews, representing labor, and neutral chairman Bruce Frazier. Local collector Stephen Lewis is set to expose elements of the Occupy movement in a new poster exhibit at Haverhill Public Library next month. Titled The 99% Resist, the curation by Lewis highlights the wealth gap between the country's richest 1% and the remaining 99% of the population. Lewis collected his posters from the U.S., Great Britain, France, Germany, Greece, Italy, and Spain, and they represent a mere fraction of his nearly 7,000 total political posters amassed over 20 years. A longtime political activist and union leader, Lewis is also hosting exhibits locally at the Topsfield Public Library, Taunton Public Library, and the Lawrence Heritage State Park. The Haverhill Public Library exhibit, The 99% Resist, is on display during library hours Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., and Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Remember, WHAV is the only Haverhill-based news source. There's always more at WHAV.net. In the Edwin B. Johnson newsroom, this is Tim Coco.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Rebecca Foster. President Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, is denying that he colluded with the Russians during last year's election campaign. The U.S. has sent its Middle East peace envoy to Israel to help support efforts to de-escalate tensions. And the parents of terminally ill British baby Charlie Gard have dropped their legal fight to take him to the U.S. for treatment.
Wave weather.
I'm WHAV meteorologist Rob St. Pierre with WAVE weather. It's going to be mainly cloudy throughout tonight, drizzle and some showers left over. We're going to be somewhere in the upper 50s. Now on Tuesday, there could still be a few showers in the morning. The clouds will hang on throughout the day. Highs will be in the mid-60s. Then we'll have some clearing Tuesday night with a low in the mid-50s. And then sunny skies on Wednesday with a high in the upper 70s to near 80. Sunshine for Thursday with increasing clouds, maybe some showers and thunderstorms either Thursday afternoon or Thursday night. Daytime high in the low 80s. I'm WHAV meteorologist Rob St. Pierre. Your next wave weather in 30 minutes.
For more in-depth coverage of the news, visit WHAV's website at whav.net. 97.9 FM WHAV.
Catch the wave, WHAV. Merrimack Valley. Open mic.
From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
Open Mic Show. I'm your host, Tim Coco, and it's such a pleasure to have Joan Hatem-Roy with us. Joan, well, at the beginning of the month officially, but Joan has just taken over as Chief Executive Officer of Elder Services of the Merrimack Valley. And I would think that Elder Services is a household name. And before we get into you, because, you know, we have to give Rosanne DiStefano one last send-off, right?
Yes.
She was certainly a colorful and recognizable character. Maybe that shouldn't be the word I use, but I think she'd appreciate it.
She would.
At Elder Services. Is it difficult taking her place?
You know, she's been such a mentor to me for so many years, and as a matter of fact, just before I left for the office, I was on the phone with her, and she's said, I'm driving home from an art class, and I'm having a ball. So she's still, you know, she lives in Haverhill. She's a good friend of mine, and I know I could pick up the phone anytime to call her. But she left us in a really good position, and I'm really grateful for that.
All right. Rosanne lives in Haverhill?
She does. She was a Lawrence native, and over the years ended up moving to Haverhill.
So we've had two chief executive officers from Haverhill at Elder Services of the Merrimack Valley. Maybe for the one or two people who don't know about Elder Services of the Merrimack Valley, maybe you can tell us, give us an overview of the agency. It started in, 1974?
Yep.
How big is the agency? Where is it based? And what's your top priority?
So, Elder Services Merrimack Valley, as you said, we've been in existence since 1974. We're located right in Lawrence. You can see our sign on the highway, the Riverwalk. Yeah, we've been there for the last, 25 odd years. We're a private nonprofit. What a lot of people don't realize about us is we're not a state agency. So we are a private nonprofit. We receive a good percentage of our funding from the state and a small percentage from federal, but for the most part, we're grant funded, philanthropy, fundraising, and all of that. Our name is a little bit of a misnomer because we're not just about elders, and we're not just about the Merrimack Valley anymore. So we have grown over the years, and that we have about 300 employees. We have about 300 plus volunteers. We're a budget of about $60 million, and we cover the whole Merrimack Valley from Dunstable all the way to Plum Island. Some of our programs are statewide, some of us are geographic in the New England, and some of them are even national. So our name's a little bit of a misnomer, but...
Oh, well, that's very interesting. I suppose we did the same thing to you here. WHAV is a nonprofit radio station, and here you are on television.
Yes. And I won't look over there because I'll get all confused.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about you. You've been with the agency in varying, growing positions of responsibility since 1983. Right. You began as a protective service worker. We're going to ask you about that separately, so let's move on. Clinical director, home care director through 98, and then assistant executive director from 98 on, and now you are in charge.
I am.
So it's been quite a quite a lengthy career with the agency.
Yes.
Have you seen a lot of changes in that time?
Yes, we're much larger. The needs are growing and greater. There's a lot of, we'll talk about me being a protective service worker, but the amount of situations that we have to deal with are just astronomical. I was fortunate that I was able to live my career through elder services, although I've done a number of things. I'm a licensed independent clinical social worker, which is a therapist. I teach at some colleges, most recently at Cambridge College and Northern Essex.
Well, good point. You also have taught at Northern Essex Community College for quite a few years, 1988 to 2010, and your own credentials are pretty magnificent. Master's degree from University of Connecticut.
Correct.
Bachelor of Arts, Psychology and Sociology, magna cum laude at University of Lowell. I guess now we'd say UMass Lowell. You're a certified alcohol and substance abuse counselor. You've done some work with Greater Lawrence Mental Health Center, and I have to admit I don't know what Grace Morgan House is, but you've been a consultant there.
Yep, that's Grace Morgan House is a nursing home. That was my very first job coming out of college. So I've run the gamut. But what's wonderful about our organization and Elder Services of Merrimack Valley is that it is an opportunity. It's a great place for new graduates to come in, learn the field, grow, and there's a lot of opportunities for them to stay and grow in different positions there. I was fortunate in that I was able to do so many things and learn so many things professionally in that organization, and I often say I've had 5 different positions just like in the same organization, and I feel like I've learned so much. So it's really been a great place. We're very family oriented. It's a culture of cultural growth and families, and family comes first. So it's a great place for people to work, especially as they're coming out of college and growing.
All right. Now, I wanted to go back to that because the first thing I flagged was you were the first protective service worker in Massachusetts, 1983. What is a protective service worker?
Well, back in 1983, they passed an elder abuse law. So when you think about child abuse, everybody understands what the child abuse law. But in 1983, they passed a law that said that you were not allowed to abuse elders. And so that law went into effect in 1983, and I became one of the first protective service workers across the state to not only investigate cases of elder abuse, but find interventions and ways to alleviate it. So back then, it was a big deal. I just mentioned to you Scott Harshbarger, who was the Attorney General at the time, was very progressive in this field, and him and I would go on the speaking circuits. And as a young, kid right out of college, it was pretty fun to be talking with the Attorney General. And but I like to say also, when that law went into effect, we did a lot to get the word out, and we would probably get about 2 to 3 referrals in a week. Now we hit an all-time high of about 260 elder abuse referrals in a month. We have a staff of over 30 some odd staff that investigate and go out and try to help people who are being abused.
Wow, that is...
So it's not an impressive statistic to say that we grew that much, but it is the reality of the population.
No, that's very, very sad. Now, how is that paid for? Is that paid by state grants? Because I can't imagine private insurers pay for that.
Nope, that's a line item in the budget, and we're designated by the state of Massachusetts. So we're out we cover the Merrimack Valley, but there's also 23 other organizations across the state who are also designated to receive those reports of abuse. There's also a statewide hotline that all calls go through, a centralized intake, and then we get those referrals and we go out and investigate them.
Well, I suppose, because we're on this subject, how does someone report elder abuse? Can they call you? Do they call their local police department? Is it some combination?
Nope, there's a centralized number, and I'm hoping I get it right. It's 1-800-922-2275, and that's a centralized intake. So you just have to have a suspicion that someone is being abused, and that's physical, emotional, financial exploitation, and self-neglect.
So that's 800-922-2275. 2275 is a central intake. All right. We have to take a brief break for Community Spotlight, just about 45 seconds, and then we'll be back with Joan Hatem-Roy, the new Chief Executive Officer of Elder Services of the Merrimack Valley. We'll be right back.
Open mic!
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
WHAV is on Facebook. For quick access, visit whav.net and click on the Facebook icon.
Catch the wave!
Suspense, a weekly anthology of notable melodramas from stage and screen, fiction and radio, presented every Monday night to bring you to the edge of your chair, to keep you in suspense. Listen to the new Suspense with a company of Hollywood actors and surprising guest stars, Monday nights at 10, with encore performances at 1 a.m., right here on WHAV. Remember, only local radio can bring you this feature opportunity, but only WHAV does.
Community Spotlight!
Banish summer boredom with a new series of eco-friendly programs for kids 6 to 12. Very Victorian will take place Thursday, August 17th, 1 to 4 p.m. Dress in costume, enjoy tea, and make Victorian-era crafts at this afternoon session detailing the late 19th century. Each session is $15 for non-members and $10 for museum members, including a snack. Dress in play clothes and wear sunblock. To register, email programs@buttonwoods.org by 1 week prior to each activity. Someone you know is on WHAV. To submit or read your own nonprofit announcements, click on the Contact tab at whav.net or email news@whav.net. In the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, this is Robin Fancher.
WHAV Open Mic!
From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
19 minutes past the hour on 97.9 FM WHAV. This is the Open Mic Show, and Joan Hatem-Roy is with us. She's the new Chief Executive Officer of Elder Services of the Merrimack Valley. Now, we talked about just one of the many things at Elder Services. All right, so we've talked about your role as the first protective service worker, protecting the interests of seniors who might face abuse or have been abused. But there's so much more to Elder Services than that, and apparently it's even beyond the title of the agency. Well, maybe let's start with that. Do you think the agency's name will ever change?
Well, that's something we have talked about, and a couple of years back we were looking at rebranding. And Elder Services of the Merrimack Valley, it's a 40-year experience in this community, so it's tough to change the name. However, a lot of our colleagues across the state are starting to rebrand, and we will be looking at rebranding because, again, we're not just about elders anymore. We serve in some of our programs 18 and over. We're not about just the Merrimack Valley. We go beyond the state. And we're not about low income. A lot of times I believe people think that we're about low income as seniors. with the baby boomers getting older and those 60-plus folks retiring, we have so many opportunities for people to stay engaged and volunteer and get employed, and to reduce that social isolation that comes sometimes with after somebody retires. So we have so many programs and so many opportunities that I think it's very hard to understand the breadth and scope of what we do. It's overwhelming to me sometimes.
Well, actually, let's start then on the young side of that. You say some programs are 18 and up. What kinds of programs would those be?
Well, there's certain insurers, contracts that we have with insurers that
I want to
cover.
ask some questions about that.
Yeah, that cover, certain Medicare fee-for-service populations. There's some programs such as a One Care program, which is for duly eligible, meaning Medicaid and Medicare. So basically, we have a contract with some of these insurers to provide that social work component to the care plan for somebody who's in the community, needs services, needs supports.
All right. Now, did I read in the many pieces of literature, and you have a great website as well, did I read that Elder Services was one of the first to do private insurance?
Well, what's unique about us that I think a lot of people don't always understand is we're very different than something like the Visiting Nurse Association. Our programs and services are not necessarily, we don't bill insurance per se. And that's not our form of funding. We will subcontract with folks like the VNA or transportation or homemaking agencies. Part of the largest component of our organization is what we call our home and community-based services. So that is for somebody who may be eligible, who needs help to stay in the community, and they need a homemaker or meals or somebody to do food shopping for them. That is a state-funded program, so we have funding from the state, and we would subcontract those services out. So we don't necessarily do that hands-on service. We have nurses on staff. We have 30-something nurses, but we don't go out and do the wound care or the care. That's something that the VNA will do.
Okay, all right. We're getting a better sense of this then. Well, what would you consider your three top programs?
Well, again, as I mentioned, certainly home care services for people who are coming home, want to stay home. Our mission is choices for a lifelong journey. So if you're somebody who wants to stay home, stay in the community, and live your life out in your own home, that's our mission. We will do and assess and try to figure out what kind of services you need to be able to stay in your home. Now, there's eligibility for all our different programs. So some programs you may be eligible for, some you may not be. So it depends on, if your neighbor may get one service and you may not be eligible for another service. But that's what our care coordinators are trained to do. They will go out, they'll look at your situation, they'll see what resources and what you're eligible for, and put a care plan in to help you to maintain your independence for as long as you can.
And then once the care plan is developed, that's where you might use some other agency.
Yes, and that is where we use all.
Now let me think about something here. My mother, years ago, my father was terminally ill, and my mother suddenly had, and I think, I'm not a medical professional, and medical professionals seem to differ on this, but she suddenly had an autoimmune disorder that she never had before. Oddly, it went away after my father died, so I wonder if it was stress-related, but the key is both of my parents were very, very ill, and we needed outside services, people to serve as companions. We needed meals. I think we used Meals on Wheels, but again, I don't know who set that up. And various kinds of services. Is that the kind of thing you're talking about?
It's exactly what what we're talking about. I like to, think about ourselves. If you think about healthcare, and you think about people that are ill, and people are in the nursing homes or in the hospital, or even going to the primary care doctor. I look at us as on that circumference of that circle. So we're the border around healthcare. So we don't do healthcare hands-on per se, but if you're going from the hospital to the community, if you're going to your primary care physician and now you've just got a new diagnosis of diabetes and you're there with your spouse or your mother or your caregiver and you don't understand what does that mean. If you're in a nursing home or you have a short-term placement in a nursing home and you want to get back home, we help with that transition. We'll go in there, we'll figure out what it's going to take to get you home, and we'll find the services around. I like to think that, we have this whole, the old, I think it was AT&T or the Verizon commercial, the gentleman woman sitting there, and this whole network behind them. That's us. That's that whole network. And if we can't find it, our care managers are amazing, but it's also, we do long distance caregiving. So you may have a relative or a parent that lives in New Hampshire or even, in Ohio. We can call other agencies and get those resources to help you to caregive from a distance.
So you can do much more than the Merrimack Valley.
Exactly.
Well, it's funny. I think of scenarios, luckily, I was available. My brother was available. So my mother did not drive. She never drove. She never had a driver's license. And oddly, all of this was happening when the Hale Hospital was closing in Haverhill. And, eventually it was sold. But there was a wound care program. I'm not sure if maybe that's something you're familiar with it, but it suddenly shifted to Newburyport. And luckily, we had family who could do that. But if someone were in a situation like that, they don't drive, and maybe for a lot of other reasons, they wouldn't be able to navigate to, say, Newburyport. Is that one of the things your agency might step in?
So we would help figure out the plan. Transportation is a huge challenge, especially medical transportation. As a matter of fact, our advisory council has just taken on looking at transportation as a priority issue to try to figure out what's out there. Certainly, if you're on Mass Health and Medicaid, transportation you find a vehicle to pay for that. Oftentimes, it's the payment of that service that's a challenge. If you're eligible for our services, we could offer the transportation. We have medical advocates that can actually accompany somebody to a doctor's appointment or a homemaker. So those kind of transportation issues to get a person from point A to B, we would be able to try to help figure out the plan to sort that out.
I guess the bottom line is you're the problem solver.
And we sometimes call ourselves navigators. It's very difficult. You mentioned the situation that you went through with your parents. Even my own family members, and I have my experience. My sister was the director at Mass Health for many years. We struggle with figuring out that navigation. So I can't imagine how difficult it is for somebody who's, like in your situation, we call it the abrupt loss of a caregiver. All of a sudden there's a caregiver and the other one gets sick, and now your kids are trying to figure out, how do we help this person? We help drive that bus. We help navigate you through the complexity of the services. It's very complex. It's a very complex system.
Yeah, and it may very well be that Elder Services helped during that time. Now, obviously, it's amazing how many years go by and how fast they go by. But it just suddenly the need for an array of services, like is something as simple as. I'm going to throw out something else. I think my mother's biggest fear during that time is that somehow my father was very ill. She was taking care of it and then couldn't. And there's a loss of confidence that comes with that. There is a sense of not being able to do the job, and I think that was as much on our minds to make sure my mother regained her confidence as well, that it wasn't her fault. Is that a role?
It's absolutely a role. I mean, our caregiver programs, caregivers are the biggest resource. When you have an elderly person who has a strong support network like you're describing in your family, those are easy, because the support that we can give to your mom or you or somebody who's caring for their loved ones. We have support groups. We have programs like that. We have even programs, and I'll give you the website. It's www.healthyliving4me.org.
Healthyliving4me.org.
Yep, and I'll make sure I'll write that down for you. But it's our health. We have a national program. It's called the Healthy Living Center of Excellence, and we support about 14 health and wellness programs that would help somebody understand not only their own illness, but the emotional issues that they're going through when they're either dealing with the issues or dealing with the loved one. And it really helps empower them. They're about self-management. It's about empowering. It's about giving back the confidence to be able to deal with those kind of situations. Because it's in the best case scenario for her to regain her self-esteem and her confidence, she's going to live out the rest of her life independently. And that's that's our goal and that's our mission. So we may have a counselor come to the house. We may have a case manager who tells her, why don't you go to the local senior center where you'll visit with people who are going through the same kinds of issues and get involved in those programs, or anything to find where her interest lies to get her
I
back.
have a much better, I thought I knew it all, but I guess I didn't. I have a much better sense of the breadth and depth of services provided by Alta Services of the Merrimack Valley. We have to take a break now for weather. So you've been here for like everything. The news.
It's raining out, I'll tell you
Community
that now.
spotlight. Yeah, and okay, there's our weather forecast. Chris, we can skip the break.
So we can keep talking about it.
All right, we'll take a break for local weather with WHAV meteorologists, and then, I think I was supposed to take a birthday call. We'll do that right after weather.
Open mic.
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
It's 7:32.
For live and local talk, listen to the Open Mic Show, Monday nights. You can also see the program at WHAV.tv. WHAV, the only Haverhill-based news source, and it's always free.
Catch the wave.
Hi, Tom Bergeron here. I started at WHAV in 1972. And look, WHAV's still here, but it won't be if you don't help support it. Go to WHAV.net. Become a contributor. Keep us going.
Wave weather.
I'm WHAV meteorologist Rob St. Pierre with Wave Weather. It's going to be mainly cloudy throughout tonight, drizzle and some showers left over. We're going to be somewhere in the upper 50s. Now on Tuesday, there could still be a few showers in the morning. The clouds will hang on throughout the day. Highs will be in the mid-60s. Then we'll have some clearing Tuesday night with a low in the mid-50s. And then sunny skies on Wednesday with a high in the upper 70s to near 80. Sunshine for Thursday with increasing clouds. Maybe some showers and thunderstorms either Thursday afternoon or Thursday night. Daytime high in the low 80s. I'm WHAV meteorologist Rob St. Pierre. Your next Wave Weather in 30 minutes.
WHAV. Open mic.
From the Edwin B. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
And we're back on the Open Mic with Joan Hatem-Roy, the new Chief Executive Officer of Elder Services of the Merrimack Valley. And we are learning quite a bit about the agency. In the time that we have left, let's also remember this, www. Healthy Living, the number 4 me.org is a resource.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You
Now,
can register for courses right on there, and they're free.
And these are free courses.
Because we have philanthropy funding for a lot of them, and state and federal funding for some of them as well.
All right. You just mentioned federal funding. Are you at all worried about what's happening in Washington as far as the threat of cuts?
You know, people ask that a lot, and I've been, as you know, I've been in the organization for quite some time. We have ebbed and flowed forever, with depending on who's the governor or who's the president. Right now, we're not as concerned, but over the last 5 to 10 years, we have worked really hard to lessen our reliance on state and federal funding. I have a nice little pie chart that shows some 9 years ago how much dependency we did have on state and federal funding and how much less it is right now. So as an organization our size, we know that budgets are going to cut, changes are going to happen in Medicaid, and we need to be flexible and nimble. And it is about looking at sustainability in all of our programs.
I was just going to say, that's the key word, and we
Yeah.
know it here too, sustainability.
Yeah. It's all, you always have to be, 5 steps ahead looking at how to sustain that. Who will pay you for what you do? And we know our services are very vital, they're very important, and they help keep people in the homes, they help keep people out of hospitals. And, a couple years ago, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Massachusetts came out with an article about the social determinants of health. And it's really about what keeps somebody healthy and how that impacts healthcare. You don't necessarily think that transportation or a homemaker or getting good food reduces healthcare costs, but it does. If somebody doesn't have a place to live, if they're not getting proper nutrition, if they can't afford to pay for their medications, that impacts healthcare. So it's really critical now looking at organizations like ours and the impact that it has. We're on the cost-saving end, and it'd be crazy for the state and federal officials not to look at us as a resource to help cost save.
That's a very good point, because it seems to be something that has come to the forefront with the discussion of things like wellness, that and I can see very well now, just from my own experience, that my mother weren't getting nutritious meals, maybe she wouldn't have recovered from her autoimmune disorder. And if they weren't getting rides to the doctor, like I said, my family was able to do that, but I can easily see of situations where there isn't anyone to do that.
And a common situation, like when somebody's discharged from the hospital, after an illness, especially a new diagnosis that they don't understand. And if they're discharged on the 29th of the month and their Social Security check doesn't come in till the 1st or the 3rd, and they have new medications. Well, if they go home and they're discharged in their home and they don't have they don't have a ride to get to the pharmacy, they don't have the money to pay for those medications. Well, what's going to happen? They're going to go back into the hospital because they're not, taking care of themselves properly, and they're going to be readmitted into the hospital. That increased cost, the healthcare cost doubles. It's $9,000 plus per readmission to a hospital.
Well, you sort of painted a cliffhanger to a soap opera. So what does happen? Can your agency provide, for lack of a term, I'll call it gap funding? Social Security comes in 3 days, and there's not a dime in the bank to buy the medications. You're being discharged from the hospital. I never even thought about that. How would that be covered?
Well, for the most part, you hope that they have the insurance that can cover their medications, and they have the ride or somebody to go to the nearest pharmacy to get them. In the rare situations that, again, our workers will go out and they'll look at every resource available. In the rare situations that there is no funding, you support our golf tournament, you've supported some of our fundraising events. We have what we call an elder care fund, and has been renamed the DiStefano Family Elder Care Fund.
Isn't that nice?
And that is money that's, literally, fundraised by $10, $15. We have donations that go into that. And so we would use that for an air conditioner if somebody can't afford it, to pay for that short-term coverage for meds, to get them medications right away. Food, it's something that they might need a wheelchair or something that they need and they can't afford in that moment. That's what that elder care fund helps to support.
I see. Very well. We do have to work in this birthday call. If our caller is still there, sorry for the delay. You are on the open mic show. Do you have a birthday wish?
Yes. Hi, Jimmy.
Hi there.
Yeah, I have 2 birthdays. One for Steve, August 24th.
All right, Steve, August 24th, and
the second one is Jan. Hers is August 26th.
Jan, August 25th. Back to back, huh?
Yeah.
Will they share the cake?
Yeah, they'll share the cake.
I always make that joke because I always say, make sure you nominate someone who will share a piece of the cake with you.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you very much. So Steve and Jan, is that right?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Thanks for the wait.
Okay, bye.
Okay. All right. So Steve and Jan are the latest to become eligible for an Albee D's second-generation Italian bakery 7-inch cake choice of vanilla or chocolate. If you're the winner, you'll receive a letter in the mail from WHAV, and it will just give you instructions. You call Albie D's with your letter. You order your freshly baked cake. Go pick it up. Bring the letter with you, and it's easy as, I wouldn't say pie. I'd say cake. So much for that. All right. And speaking of birthdays, I'm going to embarrass you. Your birthday's tomorrow. Did you say?
It is.
Happy birthday!
I won't tell you how old I am.
If you've only been in the contest the last month, all right.
I know. I'll have to go buy my own cake, I guess.
Oh, all right. But, maybe you'll stop by Albie D's second generation Italian bakery.
Sounds good.
How smooth I am
Yes.
to work it in like that. All right. Well, we spent quite a bit of time on some things, but I have a feeling that we haven't even scratched the surface. What are some of the things that are emerging today at the agency that perhaps never even would have been thought of in 1974? What are the new trends?
Well, I think you could guess that the amount of drug addiction and opioid addiction, back in the day when I, was a young case manager, yes, we had, alcohol addiction, but you didn't see in the elderly heroin addiction and the addiction to a lot of the opioids. The other trend is that we're seeing, again, younger disabled populations that are coming to us sooner, and we're also seeing a lot of grandparents taking care of their grandchildren, so being parents for the first time. That's been a trend that we've seen grow over the last few years. So some of the social issues that are going out in society are affecting our population as well. The case, our case managers, our care managers, the type of situations that they're caring for at home with these elders at home are very high risk. People, rightfully so, have the right to stay in their home and choose to live in their home, but the types of care that they need is astronomical. So a caseload back in the day would be like about 80, and you could manage that. But the types of situations that we're seeing are so high risk and so much needs that it's a tough job for our workers to be out there.
It seems. And I haven't seen any recent statistics that suggest any changes, but you might know that. But people are living longer, but there are issues related to that, aren't there? And
yeah, you would be just surprised at the independence. You just talked about your mother, how she regained independence, that we see some really healthy 90-plus-year-olds that are, doing so well and independent. And on the other hand, you see some, 59, 58, 40s, who really need a lot of care. So it runs the gamut. It really does.
I think a good point that well, first of all, if there's anything that you really feel you need to tell the audience, because I know we couldn't possibly cover it all. Is there something that's very important to you that you'd like to make sure they know about?
Well, I do think that with the changing demographics and the growth in the population, that I would love people to understand that we are more, as I mentioned earlier, we are about any kinds of services that you would need, that I would suggest that you pick up the phone and you call us. We have about 8 or 9 we call them age information specialists, who you can just call and ask any question, and they will get you any resources that you need to know, whether it's in this state or across the state. We get about 2,600 calls a month.
What's a good number?
So the local number is 978-683-7747. Or the 800 number is 1-800-892-0890.
We're going to keep these numbers, listeners, in case you need them. But the main number, it's funny, I talk about we have a call for you, too, talking about my parents. One of the things I always remember when I see 683, my father would always say, Murdoch.
Yes, Murdoch. I remember that as well. We're dating ourselves, I think, right? But yes.
We were Drake, but everyone we knew was at Murdoch. All right. Listen, I'm going to give you a pair of headphones. It looks like we have a question for you. And caller, you are on the air with Joan Hatem-Roy.
Hi, Tim. I am so glad to see you are still on.
Yeah, it's amazing how they won't let me go here.
Well, no, I was worried you were sick.
No. I was just busy, but we always have time for the open mic.
Well, I have been very interested in your visitors' comments. I wanted to know if she has considered the idea of having a licensed social worker at both Lawrence and Haverhill Senior Center, because I really think they could use one, maybe once a week or every other week.
No, that's interesting.
And so we do have an amazing relationship with all of our councils on aging across the Merrimack Valley. And some of our social workers do go make visits there, or they can call us and we can send somebody out. Is there a particular issue that you would like our social workers to deal with, or is there something that's, that we could help with? So what is it particularly that you're interested in?
Well, it's just that I see that they have a person for the Spanish population, and it's very much needed. But for everyone else, they have all different, a variety of issues, and there's really nobody there. We used to have a gentleman, but he doesn't come anymore. That was a number of years ago.
Yeah.
And the other thing I wanted to comment on, your agency in the past has always had a person assigned as a liaison person who was supposed to come to our board of directors meetings, and no one has ever come and shared any information with us, and I don't know why that is.
So, and where are you from? Are you at
the Haverhill Senior Center?
Oh,
I'm on the board of directors, and no one from your agency has ever showed up, even though they've been assigned that position. Well, I guess they put it on their resume. It sounds good, but we like some feedback from your agency, what's happening and what's available.
Well, I can tell you if you, and Tim has my contact information, I will personally come out to the Haverhill Senior Center and talk to your board, but also we can figure out getting a liaison out to the councils. Again, part of our board of directors is about 51% represented by the councils on aging, so over the years, depending on who was the Council on Aging director in Haverhill, we would have representative there. And as a matter of fact, I'm in the process of recruiting a Haverhill representative for our board of directors, coming in September, because I feel like we want to make sure that Haverhill is adequately represented, especially since I'm also a resident of Haverhill. But certainly, please, I will. If I get your name and number, I'll be happy to come, and that we can see about getting somebody out there to talk to you about what we have going on and giving you the resources and the information that you need.
Marcel, if that's okay, I have your information on file, and I can provide that.
That's all right. The other thing I wanted to mention, she's mentioned a lot of good things that the agency does, but I know if she is subcontracting, she loses control of her agency managing all this. For example, once you subcontract with the VNA, they go by their rules and insurance rules, and the Elder Services is out of the picture.
Yeah,
that must be a challenge to some extent.
Yeah, and we have probably between 85 to 90 subcontractors. And again, if you think about Elder Services as being navigators, we don't necessarily provide that direct service. So we subcontract for all of those resources. We wouldn't be able to. We're really about trying to be collaborative partners in the Merrimack Valley, so that we wouldn't want to recreate the wheel. Also, we don't bill insurances. So for somebody who might be eligible for a visiting nurse, we don't have the capacity or the ability to contract for a nurse to go out and do that direct care. We're not licensed by the state in that way. So unfortunately, yes, I hear what you're saying in terms of losing some of the control. But there's a lot of partners and great partners out in the community that we depend on to do that work.
Well, you mentioned something about a fund, like if someone needed equipment, you said, or I guess medication or something, and I'm wondering how one accesses that.
So you could call that number that I gave Tim, which is
the example you gave was the air conditioner, right?
Yes.
Is that what you mean, Marcel?
Anything that's outside the ordinary. I didn't hear that, but I did hear about the walker or the, something like that.
Okay.
Equipment.
Yeah, so if there is something that a person needs, so we would send out somebody to go and they would do an assessment, and that we would be able to see about a one-time only purchase if it is something that is reasonable. Obviously, we can't build ramps or, it's a very limited fund. But you would just call that 800 number and you could give us the name of the individual that needed some help, or have that individual call us themselves, and then we would do an evaluation of their eligibility, and then we could help purchase that item if it's something that they needed.
Who would we ask for?
You would call the Age Info Department, so you would call 978-683-7747 and ask for Age Info, and all of those specialists are trained to be able to take that information and get you your information that you need.
All right, so 978-683-7747. Great questions, Marcel. Great answers, Joan. There's actually so much more I could think of as well, thanks to that. But, Marcel, anything else on your mind about this?
Well, I just thought I might mention if people don't realize, when they are in the hospital, if the hospital doesn't send up somebody from the VNA, if they're not alone and they have a friend or someone there, have them while they're still in the hospital, have them call up and ask for the representative from the VNA to get the paperwork started, because the doctor has to approve it before Elder Services ever gets near this. Mm-hmm. You got to get the ball rolling fast.
Yeah, so we would work collaboratively with the visiting nurse. So, it is complicated, as I said. So the visiting nurse is really about something that is medical, and the insurance would pay for it, and then we would work in tandem and in parallel with them. So we would go out there and assess them for their needs as well. But your point about absolutely try to get the ball rolling before the discharge happens. And some hospitals in the Merrimack Valley, we're actually located in the hospital, so that we get that discharge information right from the beginning, so that we get the services rolling and ready to go while that person is still in the hospital.
That's a great point. You are actually physically located in some of the hospitals?
In some of the hospitals, depending on the different funding that we have, we are located in the hospitals. For example, we are located at Lawrence General. Our staff is at Lawrence General.
Oh, very interesting. Well, Marcel, you're bringing out even more information by asking these questions. Anything else on your mind?
I've done this stuff for over 10 years, so...
Oh, you have?
I've lived it with two parents sick at the same time.
Oh, I see. I understand. I think I do. All right. Well, these are great questions, and I think you've got a commitment of support from Joan. So...
Absolutely. I'll be by to visit you. You got my word.
Okie doke.
All right.
Good luck.
Marcel, thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye. All right, so I think we need to take a break. I don't know what we run in this break, but we'll take a brief break. And if you don't mind staying for the rest of the hour, we'll because I think suddenly there's a lot of new things to talk about. So we'll take a break. We'll be back with more of the Open Mic Show in just a minute.
Open Mic!
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
Stay informed each day with local news, coupled with FSN's worldwide coverage. 97.9 WHAV is the only Haverhill-based news source. There's always more at WHAV.net.
Using WIC is easier than ever. Now you can use the WIC card instead of checks for your food purchases. WIC is a free nutrition program that helps working families stretch their food budget and make healthy choices. WIC helps families learn to shop for nutritious foods and offers resources like online nutrition education and an app to make shopping easier. Visit us online at mass.gov/WIC to find out if you qualify. This message is brought to you by the Massachusetts Department of Public Health's WIC Nutrition Program.
For more information locally, call the WIC office at Community Action at 978-374-2191.
WHAV Open Mic.
From the Edwin B. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
And we're back with the Open Mic Show and Joan Hatem-Roy, the new Chief Executive Officer of Elder Services of the Merrimack Valley. And you can tell from the call and from the discussion, whether it's the hospitals Elder Services works with, whether it's the councils on aging. This is clearly very embedded in the Merrimack Valley. Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned at the start of the program, and I'm not sure I properly followed up, and you've hinted at across borders. What is the territory, or is that something that actually changes depending on the individual?
So it changes depending on the program. Through our state and federal contracts, our geographic region is the Merrimack Valley. However, with our Healthy Living Center program, that's a statewide program. So you can go on that website and you might live in Canton and you put in the zip code and it's going to come up all the programs that we offer in that within a 10-15 mile radius. So those are the programs that we run statewide. We also have a regional collaborative. So in some of our programs, such as there's a program called Healthy Ideas, for example, and that's a program that helps a person deal with depression. And depression, as you can imagine, is huge in our population. So we are the regional coordination agency for New England, and that's, with New Hampshire, Maine, Rhode Island, Connecticut. So we're the regional organization there.
On each of these things that we mentioned, I just want to throw this out while I'm thinking about it. Like depression, I think you're right. I think it's a major issue. Can they still, the same main number? Mm-hmm. 683-7747. Yep. Wow, so much there.
And that's as I was saying, the value of those specialists, because of the complexity. They have a database of I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of resources that they can look up, and they help you navigate this. And then if it warrants a home visit, we will send somebody out to the home and we will look at the home. It's so critical to see what the person's living environment is so that we can understand what's going on for that individual, and from that point see what a person's eligible for. So every situation is different, every resource is different, every eligibility is different, and that's what our specialists and our care managers do when they go out into the home.
I think I finally have a sense of exactly what it is you do, and that is, as I said earlier, problem solve.
Yeah.
And I used to think I knew what you did, mm-hmm. but those were just parts of solving the problem. Yeah. So the idea is that no matter what is happening, it could be age-related, it could be a financial situation, it could be a mental health issue, it could be an addiction issue, and the path to solve these things is different for everyone, depending on age, education, on income, on need. And so, therefore, there's nothing that's off the shelf.
There's nothing.
You make a brand new product with mm-hmm. every person.
You said it perfectly. You said it perfectly. Exactly it. Each situation, in every age, every income bracket, every region, it can start with us. I think our call used to be one call. You make that one call, and we'll open those doors.
All right, so this isn't signing up for something, although I bet you do have some things that you can sign up for, but this is, you tailor everything
exactly.
to the needs of the individual.
Exactly.
And it sounds like the family.
Mm-hmm.
To meet those needs. Well, it's certainly been a great pleasure. I'm really looking forward to working with you more now that I have a better sense that no matter what I come up with, you'll be able to handle it.
I hope so. And if we don't, you can hold me to it.
Well, you'll find someone who can, because like I said, our community spotlight runs 1/4 every hour, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And people often call and saying, well, they've heard about various services, but is there something for them on this matter? I'm beginning to think I'll have an answer for everything.
And again, it's not just us doing it. We have amazing collaborative relationships in this community. The Merrimack Valley is so unique in that I can call anybody, any hospital, any provider or organization, and we all work together. So I don't want to make it sound like we're the end-all and be-all, but we can pick up the phone and find the resource.
And you connect. And so, and you're from Haverhill, Joan Hatem-Roy, the new Chief Executive Officer of Elder Services of the Merrimack Valley, or some other future name, all kinds of services of not just the Merrimack Valley.
There you go.
So thank you so much for coming on the
Thank you.
program.
Thank
Really enjoyed meeting you. I heard wonderful things about you. It's wonderful to meet you.
Yes, you as well.
And we're going to go to local news and local weather and then open lines when we return with more of the Open Mic Show on 97.9 FM WHAV.
Open mic!
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
It's 8:01.
WHAV LP Haverhill.
Here's what's happening in local news. Haverhill police officers will get less than half of a 3-year, 12% raise they sought in arbitration with the city. A 3-member joint labor management committee ruled members of the police officers union should receive retroactive salaries of 1.5% for 2015 and 2016 and 2.5% raise for fiscal year 2017, which just ended on June 30th. City Council will be asked to approve the arbitration agreement and transfer more than $630,000 from salary reserves to pay the officers. Mayor James Fiorentini, in a letter to the council, recommended approval. The council meets at 7 p.m. Tuesday in the Theodore Pelosi Jr. City Council chambers on the second floor of Haverhill City Hall. The police union had sought increases of 4%, 5%, and 3% respectively for fiscal years 2015 through 2017. The city had offered 1.5% raises for the first 2 years and 1.75% for the final year. The arbitrators mostly sided with the city, bumping the final year's salary increase 2.5% with a 0.75% adjustment to bring Haverhill's police salaries closer to comparable cities. The arbitration agreement is also notable for the panel's decision to make Haverhill one of the few communities in the Commonwealth to allow civilians to perform traffic details when there are no uniformed officers available, the mayor said. The agreement also increases the private detail rate to $46 from $44, institutes drug and alcohol testing for officers, consistent with the policy followed by the Superior Officers Bargaining Unit, and rejects the police union request for a 5% weekend differential. Members of the panel were Leominster Mayor Dean Mazzarella, representing management, Alan Andrews, representing labor, and neutral chairman Bruce Frazier. If your commute along Route 97 today through Groveland is a bit slow, it's due to preparations for state repaving from Parker Road to the intersection of Salem and School Streets. Grinding and grading of the southbound lane of Route 97 means traffic is being reduced to one lane during the week. Heavy traffic delays and an uneven driving surface is expected, said Groveland Police Chief Jeffrey Gillen. We understand that this construction is an inconvenience to residents and community members who travel along Route 97 on a regular basis, the chief said. He asked motorists to find alternate routes, but warns police are watching for speeders on side roads. Residents have already complained about people speeding on King Street, Seven Star Road, Rollins Street, and Washington Street. Once southbound lanes are prepared, crews will move to the northbound lane. Next week, the base coat of pavement will be applied over the course of 2 days. Local collector Stephen Lewis is set to expose elements of the Occupy movement in a new poster exhibit at Haverhill Public Library next month. Titled The 99% Resist, the curation by Lewis highlights the wealth gap between the country's richest just 1%, and the remaining 99% of the population. Lewis collected his posters from the U.S., Great Britain, France, Germany, Greece, Italy, and Spain, and they represent a mere fraction of his nearly 7,000 total political posters amassed over 20 years. A longtime political activist and union leader, Lewis is also hosting exhibits locally at the Topsfield Public Library, Taunton Public Library, and the Lawrence Heritage State Park. The Haverhill Public Library exhibit, the 99% Resist, is on display during library hours Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Remember, WHAV is the only Haverhill-based news source. There's always more at WHAV.net. In the Edwin B. Johnson newsroom, this is Tim Coco.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Rebecca Foster. President Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, is denying that he colluded with the Russians during last year's election campaign. The U.S. has sent its Middle East peace envoy to Israel to help support efforts to de-escalate tensions. And the parents of terminally ill British baby Charlie Gard have dropped their legal fight to take him to the U.S. for treatment.
Wave weather.
I'm WHAV meteorologist Rob St. Pierre with Wave Weather. It's going to be mainly cloudy throughout tonight, drizzle and some showers left over. We're going to be somewhere in the upper 50s. Now on Tuesday, there could still be a few showers in the morning. The clouds will hang on throughout the day. Highs will be in the mid-60s. Then we'll have some clearing Tuesday night with a low in the mid-50s, and then sunny skies on Wednesday with a high in the upper 70s to near 80. Sunshine for Thursday with increasing clouds, maybe some showers and thunderstorms either Thursday afternoon or Thursday night. Daytime high in the low 80s. I'm WHAV meteorologist Rob St. Pierre. Your next Wave Weather in 30 minutes.
Broadcasting on the Armstrong FM system, this is 97.9 WHAV. Broadcasting on the Armstrong FM system, this is 97.9 WHAV.
Catch the wave, WHAV, Merrimack Valley. Open mic.
From the Edwin B. Johnson newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
Got to mention this on air. Maybe Joan's listening in her car, but she pointed out a connection to WHAV that was fascinating. Way back when Tom Bergeron hosted People Are Talking on WBZ television, Joan went on the program to talk about the new, at the time new, protective service worker that guards against or responds to abuse situations. So that was very interesting. Obviously, much more involved with elder services of the Merrimack Valley than I could possibly have anticipated, and I think that maybe you may have also found that to be true. But Joan Hatem-Roy of Haverhill is the new chief executive officer of the agency. It is a $60 million private agency with 300 employees. Wow, very impressive. So, for the rest of the let's say 22 minutes we have left, we'll go to open lines 978-374-1900 to get on the open mic. 978-374-1900. Okay. I'm somewhat adjusting in my seat because my camera's not exactly right. Maybe Chris can move it just a little bit. He probably doesn't think so because I'm just squished to this side to somewhat balance it. But in any event, we've gotten quite a few birthday entries. Quite a few birthday entries tonight for the Albee second-generation Italian bakery. It looks like I'm now flying through the office. The Albee second-generation Italian bakery cake contest. Free 7-inch cake, choice of vanilla or chocolate to the winner. We're taking August birthdays and anniversaries. Next week, we'll draw the August winner. and begin kicking off towards September. It's always scary when we work a month ahead and start thinking what that means as we get toward the fall. But no, let's not borrow trouble now. We're still July right now. All right, and now the other contest that's outstanding out there, and I don't know, maybe our judges are away. It is that time of year, vacation season. Kimball Tavern Antiques, corner of Salem and South Main Streets in Bradford, does this all year long until the trivia question is answered. They provide a $10 gift certificate, good like cash, at Kimball Tavern Antiques. Be the first person to answer the question, and you get the $10 gift certificate. Name the man on Lowell Avenue in Haverhill who collected hubcaps. Apparently, this was quite a legend some years ago. We need his first name, his last name, and his nickname. Well, thanks to the judges, thanks to listeners, we already know 2/3 of this question. The first name is Charlie, the nickname is Keista, and the last name, we even know what it starts with. It starts with an A. Be the first person to answer the last name of the man who collected the hubcaps at his home on Lowell Avenue, and you could get $10 to use at Kimball Tavern Antiques. All right, now I believe this is going to come close to exceeding the great bowling alley contest we had. Right. Well, I think we have a caller. You are on the Open Mic Show.
Hello, Tim. This is Kenny. How are you?
It's Ken Quimby, the first person to take out nomination papers for Haverhill City Council. Do I have that right?
Yes, you're correct, and they're already filed, and I have 90 good signatures, all filed and ready to go.
All right, so you're definitely in. Well, we will have more formal programming around the election, but maybe that's not why you're calling. So what's up?
No, I'm calling about her birthday wishes for my mom, Alice Ianalpo, which is August 5th. So I wanted to put her name in the hat for the cake.
Okay, and so Chris has got your information?
I don't know, he didn't, so I'll gladly give it to him after I get off with you and so forth. I do have one question.
Okay.
I heard the beginning of the program, you said something about the fire chief, some of the buildings and so forth. I don't know about the fires, you know.
Oh, I think the caller was asking the question about.
Okay.
Some of I'm not sure. With several different things, but is this what you mean? The one about at least one of our new buildings downtown has a shell of wood. Now, maybe that doesn't mean anything. I'm not a builder, so.
Either am I. I'd have to go look myself.
But it is sprinklered, I'm sure, and that kind of thing. But I think that was the caller's question, is that we've seen some stories. I mean, I think we've seen some in Great Britain, which is certainly not a third world country, where you've had apartment fires and that kind of thing in new buildings. So, that was the question. But I'm not sure that I know the answer.
Okay, well, that's all, Tim. That's all I wanted, and I'll
Chris,
talk to you soon. I'll see you again soon.
It's a birthday
also.
for Alice. Kenny, if you don't have that, Chris, can Kenny call you back? Kenny, can you call right back and make sure Chris has your mother's full name and her mailing address?
Okay.
And she'll enter the contest. We'll do the drawing next week. And when's her birthday again?
August 5th, which is not week from this coming Saturday.
All right, so very good. Well, thank you very much.
Okay. All right.
Former Councilor Ken Quimby, the 10th Councilor, is officially reported by WHAV. How's that?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, take care. Bye.
Bye.
All right, then. And we have another caller. All right, we'll try to squeeze that in before the break. You are on the Open Mic Show.
Yeah, good evening. How are you?
It's the judge.
Well, look, nobody's going. I'm going to give you the answer tonight. But that was Kenny Quimby. I just walked in the house. I just walked in.
Oh, all right.
Anyway, I heard you saying that people are talking. I heard you say that, right?
Yes, that was Tom Bergeron's WBZ TV show.
Yeah, right. Well, how about this one? Everybody's talking at me. Can't hear a word they're saying. Only the echoes of my mind.
Now, Chris is our music expert.
You remember that one?
Yes, I do.
Midnight Cowboy?
I think we play it.
Who sang it?
Is that a trivia question, or you want us to answer
that's
it?
an easy one. But I bet you Chris knows. Everybody's talking at me. Can't hear a word they're saying.
Yeah, well,
That goes up my mind.
you want Chris to answer that, or do you want a listener to answer that?
Well, with anybody. Hey, I want to tell you who the guy is.
All right.
Charlie Azadorian.
Charlie Azadorian, also known as Keista.
Yeah, we used to stop at his house because I worked at the highway department. But you know what? People are going to be talking. You know why?
There's a million possibilities.
People are going to be wondering where they're going to get all the money when Brian Dempsey's gone. Where we're going to get all the money for the taxes to pay for the hospital, to pay for these policemen. They hired 5 new policemen to pay for all these projects. The money, it's you know, you guys got to understand what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen.
I'm worried about what will happen.
Well, it didn't seem like the city council was worried about what was going to happen.
Oh, no, that's an excellent point. You know, you're the first person who's actually raised that because I think some people are afraid to talk about it.
Well,
but
I know we need policemen. I'm not saying we don't need them, but think about it. You hired 5, that's good. They wanted 10. Okay, these people, that's longevity. That's 30 years of extra money, retirement, whatever it is, they're going to be here. So 30 years of 5 people, that amounts to a lot of money.
Now, that was the mayor's point. And I guess on both sides of this, you have the city council saying that our police force hasn't grown with the population. And they use an example of Waltham as having 142 officers, and we had 101. And
what's the population of Waltham?
I believe they were saying it was roughly equivalent. But I
mean, it's a lot smaller land-wise. I understand this completely.
Right.
But what I don't understand is we can't tax old people. We can't tax them out of their properties.
And then now that's the mayor's argument.
That's right. And I agree with Jimmy on a lot of things, and a lot of things I don't agree with. What I see things going on, wrong in the city of Haverhill. But just my opinion, whatever it is, too. So
no, I have to say it's a good debate to have. Now the question is, it seems like, I don't know if this is a good example. This is the one I use. Maybe it's only in my own head that I think it's true. But, when we all got our first mortgages, when we, younger, got our mortgage to our first home, it seemed like an insurmountable payment. Well, we have to really watch our budget. We can't go out. There are no more movies. One night out a month. And then 5 years goes by, 10 years goes by, and suddenly it's not such a big debt compared to our income.
Well, but then if you read the article in yesterday's paper about people in debt buying new cars, it's expensive to buy a used car at $20,000, and they're getting behind. There's a lot of people missing the payments on their cars, and they're getting behind again on their mortgage payments because they got kids in school. This is all. It's all going to come to a head again.
Oh, no, I mean I guess that's where I'm going with this. Is Haverhill as a city kind of like one of those families? Which way will it go? Is the debt becoming manageable because, well, in 20 years we have that much more in tax income? We've moved a lot of fees to water and sewer, or is it the other scenario where, You've heard the neighborhood groups say, hey, you got a new school in Bradford for Hunking. Okay, now we want a new Whittier middle school. We want a new Constantino school. We want a new Tilton school. Why is Walnut Square still standing? We want that replaced. Yeah, I think no one is saying that one, by the way. I'm just throwing this out as an example.
I understand. You're right, and it's going to come to a head. And I don't know where the layoffs are going to come from. They're going to have to come from somewhere. We're not going to get the money that Brian got us. We all know that.
No, and the governor's vetoes last week, as reported by WHAV, governor's vetoes were pretty deep.
I believe we still owe on $17 million on the hospital. I still believe that.
I have the spreadsheets for that. The number is actually getting bigger. Not smaller, because of the retirees. Because what happens is, I alluded to this earlier, and maybe someday, maybe Chuck Benevento will come on the program. He's the city auditor, finance director. But I used this example with him, and I think he thought it was a good analogy. I don't know if you remember this, but there used to be something called non-contributory pensions. Now, way back when,
I remember them. Yeah.
way back when, there were people who didn't contribute to the system. Now, maybe this is back before World War One.
Yeah.
And, eventually he said, well, that's not sustainable. So we started making people contribute to their pensions. But every year, the city council would say, what do we have for non-contributory pensions? Because this was just like, this was the hail debt of its time. And you keep saying, when will the last one leave the system? And I was half joking with Chuck Benevento a few months ago, and I said, Chuck, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but we used to have this non-contributory pension thing, and everybody wondered. He said, hey, not only have I heard of it, the last one just passed. And this was, some 80 years afterward?
Yeah.
So
I see a lot of construction going up, and that's a good thing. You're going to bring more taxes in. You're going to bring more money. You're going to bring more money in, and that's the mayor's process, and that's what's happening. But I don't know if he's going to, if it's going to even out. I don't know. The larger the population, you tax more people, but you need more services for these people. You need more teachers. You need more schools. And it's going to come to a head once I don't know. Good luck to Vargas. I don't think he'll get in. I think maybe Maglieretti's got a chance.
Now, why do you say that? Because I think both are listening, and they both would like to know why you think that.
I don't know. I like Vargas. I voted for him, but I just think I don't think he has the experience.
All right. So you think
Brian Dempsey? Well, he had a little more experience at the time, I think.
He's been council president by that
time.
Yeah,
he was young. That's right. He was young. Yeah, that's right. And you know what? It's nothing I like Vargas. He's okay. You don't like everything everybody.
Well, there may be a Wood running, Scott Wood.
He might run, but you know who the mayor of Haverhill was in 1904, 05, or 6, 07?
Who was that? Chase?
No, there's a school named after him in Bradford. You just mentioned the name.
Did I mention? Was it Hunking or Cogswell or?
No. You just mentioned the guy's name. Somebody that's running.
Oh.
That's Roswell Wood.
Roswell. All right.
And now you go back and do some history. And he was a horse trader. He wasn't a horse thief. He was a horse trader, and he was an entrepreneur. He bought property and sold property, and he actually is buried in the Riverview Cemetery in Groveland, near my grandmother's family, right next to him, on top of the hill. And he owned property on Wood Street in Groveland, so I believe that was probably where the Wood Street came from, in Groveland.
Oh, okay.
And he eventually moved to Haverhill, and it's funny. I don't know the connection between my family and his, but my great uncle Bill lived on 18th Ave for 50, 60 years, bought his property off of Roswell Wood's family.
Isn't that interesting?
So there was some connection, and it's from Groveland, and my family's from Groveland. It's hard to trace, your great.
Well, it's funny. I'm going to look back around the turn of the last century again. I did a Haverhill Heritage series story about. There used to be political parties at the local level, and Haverhill always seemed to have these extreme ones. We had the Prohibition Party. And that was I can't remember his last name. Rand, I think. Benjamin Rand, Nathaniel Rand.
Who do you think? Let me ask you this: Who else you think is going to run for this Brian's position?
It's a funny thing. Here's what I said to a few people, and I'm so far I'm wrong. There's going to be someone that we've never thought of, who we didn't think was interested. That's going to surprise us, just like I said to someone, Jim Rorak did when he ran for mayor way back when. No one thought of him, and then suddenly he was on the scene and got elected.
Hey, Sean Toohey's throwing his name. I don't know if he's going to run, but...
Well, he's still playing with it, and Tom Sullivan isn't going to run. We know that.
What do you think Bevilacqua's going to do?
Joe Bevilacqua?
Yeah, you think he's going to run for mayor?
I think
I don't know.
That's a good question. Joe has always kind of shook his head when you ask that question.
Yeah.
But he's
a popular guy.
Yeah, he's a top vote getter usually.
That's right.
And he has expressed Well, people say he has an interest in it. He doesn't deny it either way. He brushes it off. So I think I'm going to put him in the same category as Tom Sullivan, as the counselors who are thinking down the road at the appropriate time that they would seek the mayor's job.
I mean, on Brian's job, what other areas outside of Haverhill did they vote for that position? Do you know?
Well, for Brian's the one that's entirely within the city. He has no other towns.
No, all the votes come from just Haverhill?
Just for Brian, because if you remember, as the population changed, we started getting a little bit of incursion. So we have Linda Dean Campbell up in your neck of the woods.
Yeah.
We have Diana DiZoglio in the Bradford area. We have Lenny Mira.
I mean, that wouldn't. Then I mean, Mr. Vargas, he knows how to get a vote. So potentially he could be the guy.
Yeah, this seat is entirely within the city. Doesn't overlap into another
got a lot of
area.
votes.
Yeah, so it's certainly an interesting issue, but I guess we'll know. It's going to be a short election season.
Yeah, I guess we're going to have to get some money up for a special election too. It's too bad Brian's leaving, but you know what? That's how it is.
No, and I have to say, I think some people are going to say the mayor was, right on the ball when he said, listen, I can't predict tomorrow. What if we lose some state grants or whatever else? I don't think he knew about this, but I think a lot of people are going to give him credit for thinking of it. I think on the other side, there are some people saying, well, whether we have Brian Dempsey or not, we still have a crime problem, and so good questions. I'm not taking a side on this one.
No, I know it's going to be tough. I'll tell you, Brian's mother-in-law used to babysit me when I was a child.
Really?
Yeah. Mrs. Baker. She's a nice lady.
Haverhill is just so small, really.
Yeah, well, Brian's mother-in-law lived next to my great 18th Avenue, who lived there for years, and I grew up on 19th Avenue. My aunt from England came from England when she was 11, and she became pen pals with Brian's mother-in-law.
Wow.
Diane.
Wow.
It was Diane DeRussia.
Fascinating stuff. The next trivia question is about your family.
Anyways,
well, thank you for
nice talking with you. I'm glad you. Good to hear you. And I haven't heard from Jack Bevilacqua, so I don't know what's going on with the East-West antiques.
Yeah, I haven't heard about that lately. But anyway, let's check in with each other. I got some stuff to ask you anyway.
All right, I'll talk to you.
All right, so much.
Have a good night.
All right, good night.
Bye.
All right, I think we got to squeeze in one more birthday call. You are on the open mic. I think that caller might have hung up because I'm hearing an echo. You can still have a red light? No, then hung up. Then you hang up that. I got an echo. Okay, caller, if you want to try, we got about 2.5 minutes. If you want to try calling back with that birthday wish, 978-374-1900. All right. For some reason, I can't hear myself. So levels there. Okay. All right. Well, it was quite a good show, quite a busy program. Joan Hatem-Roy is the new Chief Executive Officer of Elder Services of the Merrimack Valley. She got a good question from one of our regular listeners, Marcel, and I think we're going to hear a lot more about that as time goes by, and we have taken off the table the trivia question about Kista, the man who had hubcaps on Lowell Avenue. His name was Charlie Asadorian. Kista, his nickname. So we'll go to our judges at the appropriate time and see if there's another trivia question. Always good. Also, I mean, all the regulars came in tonight except Safety Officer Dave. We missed you somehow. Maybe you still can call in, but we're running quickly out of time. But we had most of our regular team together. We had Jerry, our environmental consultant. We had Marcia. To call her the birthday lady because she had everybody's birthday in her black book. And then Brian wasn't the first caller this time. He was the second. But very, very busy night. We're very thankful to have all of you listening to 97.9 FM WHAV. And next week, I don't know that we have any specific plans, but we'll have something exciting, I'm sure, for you. We're certainly going to be drawing the birthday winners. I do want you to keep thinking, as our last caller did, about the elections that are coming up. It's going to be a shortened season with two different races going on at the same time, people being on two different ballots. Really going to be an exciting time. And yet, behind all of that, this fear that without Brian Dempsey bringing in the buckets of needed cash for different things, that it's going to be difficult. Well, that's why we have a rainy day fund. It might rain for a while, though, but I'm not quite sure. Not quite sure. If this is just too much fear over nothing. But we all wish Brian Dempsey good luck anyway. Served the city of Haverhill well. I think I could say for me to say that. So I think we're going to call it a day on the open mic, and we'll see you again next week.
Open mic!
Join Tim Coco live on the Open Mic again next Monday night at 6:30. The opinions expressed on the Open Mic show are not necessarily those of WHAV, its underwriters, or affiliated stations. The Open Mic show came to you from the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom.
It's 8:30.